Hey there, Cupcake Army. So last week I was supposed to do a video, and I did actually record it, but I didn't like the way the video turned out, and I really wanted to do a video on this subject, so I figured let's do a no editing type video. Great. The reason I wanted to do this is because I didn't want to seem like I was well-spoken and eloquent when I talk about subjects like this, and I wanted you guys to see basically exactly who I am in this video. So without further ado, that topic is the Occupy Wall Street movement, because it's pretty big. And if you're not aware of what it is, basically it started in September, and there's people who decided to occupy Wall Street, and they represent the 99%, which is basically people like you and me, who are basically at the bottom, don't have a lot of money, and are basically being oppressed by the 1%. In the case of the United States, it would be the CEOs and the banks and things like that. So that movement took off, and obviously a lot of people took up this cause because as of the 15th of October, I believe there's around 82 countries who took up this movement and occupied different parts of their country. I know in Canada we have at least 3 or 4 different Occupy movement, and it's growing. So I wanted to talk about this because there's been a lot of critique about the Occupy Wall Street movement, and it grinds my gear a little bit because certain people who argue, I understand, you're the 1%, and I understand certain people have different opinions about it, but my biggest complaint is a lot of people are complaining simply for the fact of complaining. There's obviously the people who are saying, oh, it's meaningless, there's no agenda per se, and also that it's leaderless, and I hear that often, that these are the big critiques, especially in the news media. And I think these are 2 big critiques that could be used in a positive light, and I don't think a lot of people think about this. So, for example, the idea that it's leaderless, that means basically that a lot of people can rise up and become the leaders of their movement in their own country, or in their own city, or even in a party itself. And it doesn't need necessarily to have a specific leader. This also means that we are accountable for our own actions without having to fall back on somebody and being like, well, it was that guy's idea, you know, I'm gonna go with that. It's all about everybody's perceptions and all about everybody's individual action that help create this movement. So the idea that it's leaderless actually offers a lot of ways to rise up and, you know, be accountable for the actions that we take. The other thing that I heard is it's meaningless, there's no agenda, it's stupid, it's unorganized, and I hate that part too, because to me there is no specific agenda that is more important than the other one, because especially when it started going to other countries, every country has their own problems, but that doesn't mean that our problems are worse or better than another person's problem. It just means that we all have problems, we all need to get this fixed, whether it be, you know, monetary, like in the States. Here I would assume it's more about the government. There's environmental impact. We have, especially in Canada, Indigenous rights that are being stomped over. So there's a lot of implication, and a lot of people have things to be mad about, but that doesn't mean that one agenda is bigger than the other. This also gives a way for people to come into a big circle and talk about all their problems. So when you're going to an Occupy movement, you're learning about all these different problems that are going on, and sometimes getting a lot of really good information. It's also a great way for these people to, you know, vent and learn about these problems in a positive manner. This is all a positive thing. So the other thing I wanted to talk about also is a lot of people have been complaining in Canada that we don't have it as bad, it's stupid, you know, we're good, which to me I would like to argue against that, because although we don't have as many problems as the States, for example, I am not as poor as certain students that are coming out of college in the States, but I also have the same problem of I'm going to have a hard time finding a job. I also have other things to worry about right after that, but there's also Indigenous rights, which I think is a really big thing that we should be talking about. Now, I did want to mention one little thing that kind of bugs me about the Occupy Wall Street movement, and you guys can rebuttal this if you want, or debate this if you want. But the only thing I want to say is, especially in Canada, we've been occupying business sections, especially in Toronto. I know we've been occupying business sections of Toronto, which I think we should adapt the Occupy movement to maybe occupying something that's a little bit more important for that current country or that city. Like for me personally, I would have loved it if we were near Parliament, if we were near a government building instead of a obviously a business section, because to me the businesses aren't as much of the problem here as the government is. And the other thing I wanted to say about the Occupy Wall Street movement is there's been a lot of news media, even in Canada. Don't go listening to these, Global and the news channels. I think that the best way to get the idea and the sources that you need and the information that you need about these movements is to go online and look at YouTube and vlogs and blogs and whatever not, because those are the people who are getting the real stories, or the non-profit news media companies or whatever or not. I know there's a lot of them, not-for-profit and so forth, because let's face it, I've seen a lot of news media, especially in Canada, and they twist it into a way that it just sounds horrible all the time. And of course there are going to be problems with the movement. It's never going to be 100%, but that's what happens. The other thing I wanted to say before I go is to go check out the She's So Mickey video and the Miles's video. I'm going to reply to one of you guys through this, and hopefully people are going to go check it out, because those are my two favorite vlogs about the subject. So I'm going on a little bit too much, so I want to get going. So I hope you guys will talk to me in the comments below about what do you think of the Occupy Wall Street movement. I hope we can have a civilized debate. So that's it for now. Keep knowing up, Cookie Army. Bye-bye!